Hello and welcome to So You Think You're Awake, the show about life transformation through dream interpretation. I'm Michael Sheridan. On this show, through analysing your dream, I reveal your potential and the obstacles you need to overcome. I'm very specific. I tell you the superpowers you have, what makes you magnificent, and the bumps in life that are holding you back. These bumps are not in the way, they are the way. And if you want to get your dream analysed on the show, go to dream-analysis.com, fill in the form there, and I take it from there. That's all you have to do. We're also thinking of changing the name of the show to What Does This Dream Mean Anyway? What do you think about that? If you're a regular listener to the show, please do write and let me know. Thumbs up or thumbs down. I was talking to a title expert last week, and she suggested that change. And even though I've had the title So You Think You're Awake for 5 years, I couldn't argue with her. She made sense. So anyway, we're seriously considering doing that. What does this dream mean anyway? Do you think that's a good name for the show? Please do write and let me know. So what have we got in the bag for this week? So I have some dreams from Jannik, and he says, he's from Denmark, and he says, thanks for a great show and for airing my aliens dream a year ago. I listened to your show here in Denmark, and keep learning from you. And then he gives a bit of a context. He says, over recent years, I've developed a keen interest in finance, stocks, and investing in particular. Anyway, he follows Warren Buffett and his teachings and so on. And he talks about, he says that I talk about that I have an aversion for Wall Street's unchecked greed. And he said Warren Buffett shares that view. I didn't know that. That's good. But I do know a lot of good things about Warren Buffett. I know that he doesn't split shares. He's not after short-term investments. And in fact, since he's been the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, he said right at the start, we're never going to split the shares. And they are now the most expensive shares in the world, $300,000 per share. Could you afford one of them? I know Jannik can't, because if he could, he would actually have me sitting in his living room interpreting his dreams. So anyway, what is his dream? He says, on October 9th, okay, so that's fine, just the day of the dream. I'm driving a car with Warren Buffett, and he's sitting next to me like a driving teacher. So Warren Buffett is already a guide. We would know that. But you say he's a teacher in the dream. So he's a guide, and he's guiding you in your goal of investment in stocks. And we know it's about achieving that goal, because that's what driving a car is about. It's about achieving a goal, and having Warren Buffett in the car with you makes it clearly about that goal. You say the driver's on the left and he's sitting on the right. Guides are usually on the right, but that's how cars are in Denmark, so that's fine. We are chatting whilst I drive. At one point, I respond to a small talk in a positive or humorous way, giving the impression that I can drive and small talk simultaneously. Now, here's the thing. I know you can already do that. You have to already be able to do that. So this is about you working on the stocks and being able to do other things at the same time. And you're trying to give the impression that you can do both. It's obviously not about driving. Nothing wrong with that again. But here's what's important. He says sharply, pull over. And I'm supposed to park the car or stop driving shortly. And that's really key here. So in a short little while, you have to stop the car. So this is saying, look, stop working on the stock stuff. And Warren Buffett himself is telling you that in the dream. And then we see what happens. You say, we thereafter enter a bar or lounge type area, quite spacey. Warren Buffett is sitting on a couch or seated next to people talking with him. I'm in the lounge as well, and seem to remember that there are several tempting foods served or on sale in the lounge area. I'm thinking that I probably shouldn't use money on them, just like Warren Buffett is very frugal with his money. Well, I didn't know that about him, but that's interesting. So if you're to get out of the stock market, and I don't know if that means sell your shares or anything like that, I don't have that skill. But if you're to get out of that and you're to get into something else, the something else is revealed by the food. And if you listen to this show for a long time, you know I'm always going to look for what your spiritual gifts are. And in this dream, your spiritual gifts are hands-on healing. And that's what serving food and drink is about in a dream. So, but you don't buy it. So it's like somebody is telling you in the dream or demonstrating to you that your spiritual gift is hands-on healing, spiritual healing. And you decide in the dream, I'm going to be clever and I'm not going to buy it. But really it means that you don't buy that you have that gift. Well, now you know consciously that you've got it. It's not just in your dream because I've told you. But let's back that up with another dream that you sent in. And you've sent these in weeks apart because I've carried that other dream, Warren Buffett dream, for quite some time. Apologies for that. And then you sent another dream in just 3 days ago. And you say, again, thanking me for the show. And you say that you are very interested in understanding Christian spiritualism. And it's significant because the dream has a cross in it. So let's just see. You say, I'm watching TV while there is a guy sleeping on the couch next to the TV. I grab a woolen dark grey sack, which is empty, holding it in front of me to measure it like a pillow sheet, the size of my torso thereabouts. And then I vaguely remember something about an altar of silver or a sculpture of some sort of religious Christian significance, or something about a priest and something of silver and gold, a message that it's about being completely free of sin. So there's a lot of somethings and a lot of vagueness in this. But what we do have is you remember having the altar of silver, and then you remember the silver and gold and a priest being in there. So these are about your spiritual abilities. The gold cross, which you mentioned in your comments, so you say it's a gold ornamental cross, that's about your spiritual healing gift. The spiritual part comes from the fact that it's a cross connected with Jesus or the church, and healing comes from the color of it being gold. So if you have my book and you look that up, or you download the free dictionary on my website, dream-analysis.com, you will look up both of those and you will see that serving food or drink is about spiritual healing and gold is about spiritual healing. So you have 2 dreams in a row saying that this is what your gift is. What else have we got in this dream though? You have yourself holding up a dark grey sackcloth. Now sackcloth is also connected with the church, and it's connected with doing penance to atone for your sins. And at the end of this though, you're told it's about being completely free of sin. So this means you're being told that if you use your spiritual healing ability, you will not incur sins from this. Don't be measuring up a sackcloth for you to wear. And I understand, because I grew up Catholic and know what that's like. And you're told by the church a lot that only Jesus had these special powers. And if you ever say that you have got any ability, whoa, you're in trouble. Especially if you're in school, you're going to get the leather. And you talk about at the start in your comments, and I didn't say them, about the Bible being misrepresented over time. And it certainly is. I certainly agree with that. And when I got into spiritual work, I spent about 3 years researching the Catholic religion, because it really was what was holding me back. There are a lot of good things in religions, but there are a lot of bad things. And one of the things is where they hold you back. And if they're holding you back, you need to do something to clear that. So it took me a long time to overcome that. And this is something that you've got to overcome too. But what I found really helpful was in the Gospel of John, there are sayings from Jesus in that gospel. They're not in every gospel, which in itself is quite amazing considering it's meant to be about the man. So in that, Jesus says that many people have gifts like him, and many people even have them greater than he has. And he's encouraging people to develop and use their gifts, just like I do on this show, telling you to encouraging you to develop and use your gifts, just like your dreams are doing, telling you to encouraging you to use your gifts. So that's what you're meant to do. We come here to do that. I mean, it's one of the things we come here to do. And it's not going to be a sin. In fact, the sin is not doing it. If you're into the Bible, it's like the parable about the guy who comes along and he's buried his talent. He hasn't ever done anything with it. That's what we're doing when we don't use our gifts. We're not helping anybody with our gifts. So you've got to do that. Stop letting finances hold you back and work on using your spiritual gifts, developing and using them. The other things that you've got from that same dream is you have a strong intuition, because you talk about silver and a silver altar. So silver is about intuition. The altar is about leadership, but you also mentioned there's a priest in the dream. So we do know that you're a spiritual leader, but a priest, like when it comes to the whole chain, a priest is the one that meets the people, whereas a bishop would be in charge of more people and priests and so on. So we know that you're a spiritual leader, but you're actually meant to interact with people for sure. So you have 3 gifts that have shown up in your dreams there. So thank you for sending your dreams, and thank you for listening to the show. The next dream is from Eve, and she adds the following. She says, I love using your dictionary and book. Thank you so much for writing it. I'm far from accurate when it comes to interpretation, but I love to give it a whirl on my own. Then see all the obvious messages you reveal that I missed. And you can get my dictionary from our website, and it doesn't cost you anything. Do that. But you can also go to Amazon and get my book. And that's pretty cheap. It's like $15 or less than $15. And I could retire on the sales I make from books on Amazon. Did you know that? Well, that's not actually true. That is probably what I'm saying in some alternate universe, but not in this one, unfortunately. But you can get the book, and you can be very happy with the book. And that's why I wrote the book, because I was thinking about you and I wanted you to be happy. Eve says, I have listened to and believe Ann Tucker's message about the fall. I have been preparing, but my husband, though trying to be supportive, is skeptical. I have mostly been calm about the process and the thoughts of the fall, but I am sad for several factors that I know will lead to heartache. And here's the thing. You're talking about the prophecies of major things going to happen, including a crash in the stock market and maybe a volcanic or super volcano or an earthquake that changes the world. And when you're worried about something, it will show up in your dreams, but that's not confirmation because it's already on your mind. And our worries and fears show up in our dreams. That's just what happens. So this can't be a confirmation. Your dreams aren't a confirmation about it. Doesn't mean it won't happen, but it's definitely not a confirmation. So here's your first dream. I was in an elevator made of glass and steel. I was going up, but there was some confusion. There were others there. So the elevator tells us that you have, the glass in the elevator tells us that you have a strong intuition, and you're meant to use this to raise your vibration, which is what going up in an elevator is about. But it's also made of glass and steel. So the steel is a really strong metal, one of the strongest, right? And so metal in dreams is about looking for something solid to support you while you move closer into alignment with your higher self and develop and raise your vibration. And you can't really do that. There's a lot of faith and trust required in that. So that's what that dream is about, saying, look, you've got this. Use your intuition to raise your vibration. That's where you get downloads. You know things about people. You just have knowings, and trust it. Don't look for something concrete outside that. It's all about trusting. And that's what makes you grow. That's what makes you raise your vibration, not the solidity about certain other things that could be or maybe true or maybe not true. Your next part of this dream, you say, I was in my car driving home from work after dark. I was on the phone with my mom. I noticed how dark it was and realized the street lights were out and the houses were dark. I said to my mom, Riverside must be without power. At that moment, I realized my headlights were also out. Then the entire engine stopped and I glided to a stop. Hello? But the phone was dead. Okay, so Eve, not a good dream. It's about, it's warning you to not let yourself get depressed about things because the lights going out, even the lights out in a house is about depression, especially if it's the upstairs lights in the house. But the street lights going out is going to be the same thing. And you start off in the dark as well. So it's kind of like, because of what you've been hearing and listening to, you're depressed. Now, that's not what life is about. You're not meant to get depressed, meant to let yourself get there. Obviously, we can go through this phase. We can get depressed at times, but don't knowingly head into depression because you know something about the future. Life is about living fully, about having your heart open, and that's what you're meant to do. So take the knowledge that you have, do what you can based on what you've heard, and then still live and hope it's never going to happen. That's probably the best way to address it. But anyway, thank you for sending in your dreams. I really do appreciate it. Right. Now we have a dream from Melissa. Her comments are, Tanya is a friend I've made recently. And you say that her heart chakra is wide open. And I assume that would be positive in a dream, and that's true. And I'm skipping a lot here. And then you say, I know Rick's luggage represents karma, but hopefully it's a good sign that he's leaving and taking it with him. Fingers crossed for your interpretation. So here's the dream. My friend Tanya asked me if I could do some things for her. Remember, Tanya, wide open heart. Admin type things. I said yes, but asked her if she would be paying me hourly. Yes, she replied, it'll be $10,000. So, Melissa, I would like Tanya's address because I want to work for her too. 10,000 an hour. That's about my going rate. That would be great. Anyway, she went to the bedroom door. Rick, you're leaving me? She inquired as she opened the bedroom door, which was on her left. Rick was her roommate. It seemed like they were new roommates, so I was surprised that she cared so much that he was leaving. Rick had a beige and tan folded over garment bag on the bed. I also lived in the house. Okay, so Tanya's in there because she has this wide open heart. And you're right, the luggage is about karma. So this dream there's a practical aspect to your mate leaving. So like you say roommates, but it's really about relationships and it's about your mates. Everything in the dream is about you, obviously not about Tanya. And so with the color of the garment, the folded over garment bag, because garments or clothes are about roles and attitudes. So there's a practical aspect to your mate leaving, recently leaving. And it is also meant to get you to eliminate a role or attitude you assume when in relationships. And that role is that you care too much. What? It's a pun. Partners are attracted to your caring nature, just like a person with a broken leg is attracted to a hospital. You don't want or need anything else from the hospital except for it to make you better. And you're falling into a similar trap. You want your partner, indeed we all do, to like everything about you, to want to share everything you do. But when they come because of your caring nature, they don't want the other things. They don't even know that this is true, but you do. Well, at least you do now. And that's what this dream is about. So it is a good dream. And I like the $10,000 figure because that implies completion. So there's something you've been doing lately where you're stepping back into kind of an admin role and going, hang on, I got to fix this. I got to make this more efficient. And the 10,000 says this is you heading into the end of it. So good dream. And thanks for sending it in. So moving on to D. D says, my mom got sick and I took care of her for about 4 years. Sadly, she passed away February 2019. Months after that, I left the state, and she often frequents my dreams, and I love that. I just had a dream about it the other night, which was nothing like this one. Okay, so you're not telling us what that one is. So here's the dream. I remember there being a huge wave in the distance. Me and my mom were out and about. I think there were a couple of other family members, but I'm not sure. We got to a point where there was a really tall wall and the tidal waves were hitting against it, but we were safe. At some point, we checked into a hotel and got 2 rooms. I don't know where my mom was staying, but I was on the 4th floor. I must have fallen asleep because I was half dressed and the bedsheet was wet from water, but I have no idea how because there was no water in the room except that the carpet was soaked, but only for a few minutes. I heard, and I'm going to read another little bit, there's a good bit more of the dream, but I want to get to one key piece. I heard my mom say, wow, and then seconds later she started screaming. Every time she screamed, the scream got louder and louder. Since I didn't know where she was, I tried calling her on the phone to tell her to come to my room. I assumed that she screamed every time she saw a wave coming towards the building, and she screamed every 15 to 20 seconds. My room didn't have any windows, and that's the piece, so I remained calm. Okay, so there's more of the dream. So looking back over it is, you say that you see huge waves in the distance. And I know everybody's thinking, yeah, hey, this is similar to the prophetic dreams. This dreamer is prophetic. And we know that because Dee sees something in the distance, the huge waves in the distance. So she's going to have a sense about things anyway. But it's not about that. The dream isn't about a prophecy. It just shows that she has that, because she then talks about there being a tall wall and the tidal waves were hitting the wall and they were safe. And then she goes into a hotel with and got 2 rooms, one for her, one for her mom. And hotels are about reception at birth. So this, while she's in the hotel, this is about her being in the womb. And we know that because she says her room didn't have any windows. And that's the classic, like you will never be in a hotel room with no windows. But that's the classic thing in dreams to show, to symbolize the womb, the smallest space that you've ever been in your life, and there being no windows. And quite often in dreams, it's like a closet or some really tiny, tiny little room with no windows as well. Or the back bedroom in a house, like, you know, the way in some countries, there's always this room they call the box room, and it's tiny. Like they hardly make it, you could hardly fit a single bed into it. But so this is typically how it shows up. So we know that's what this dream is about for you. And so then we have to interpret it from that perspective. And you say that you woke up and your bed sheets were wet and then the carpet was soaked, but only for a few minutes. So this is like, it's like as if the embryonic sac tore while your mom was pregnant with you. It's symbolic of that kind of thing. And it's not quite like the water's breaking, but when this happens too early, you have to really watch it. You don't always have to go to the hospital and have the baby there and then, but generally you'll be taken into hospital and monitored on a daily basis just to make sure that everything's okay with the baby, mainly to find out that there's no infection and so on. So anyway, it's a very distressing thing because it does happen, and it happened. My daughter, Heidi, and she ended up in hospital for, 2 months or close to 2 months for it before one of her children was born. And it's very, very stressful because you're not allowed to move. You're not allowed to do a lot of things. You have to be really careful just in case you make it worse. And they want to get the baby to a point to at least 7 months so that they know the chance of brain damage and so on is zero, that the brain's developed. And so I would suspect something along those lines happened with your mom. And that's the distress. Like the tidal wave says, something major came at you while in the womb. And you talk about that, you say here, every time she screamed, the screams got louder. You say, I didn't have any windows, so I remained calm. So that means you didn't remain calm. We always say the things in the dream that are healing. And so the terror and everything that your mom had, you shared, or even had more so than she did. Eventually her screams turned blood curdling and could tell that she was in sheer terror. I've never heard screams like that in my life. Every time I tried to dial a number, I kept skipping one number. If there were 2 ones back to back, I only dialed one of them. The same for 2 fours, only dialing one of them. Every time I hung up to try again, it took longer and longer to get a dial tone back on the phone. I ended up waking up before I could talk to her. I know if I got to her, she would have been just fine. So it's about you, and the wall is that classic, you've heard me talk about it before, not all of us do this, but a lot of us do, where you have this wall up to keep people at a distance. And that's your protection. That's why, life can be destructive out there, and I'm fine. I'm not going to have a problem because I have this wall up that keeps you all at a distance and you can all do whatever you want. You're not going to get close to me. And so you need to do something to tear that wall down and open your heart. We always come in with an open heart. So you've had your heart open fully before, but right now you've got it closed off to try to protect you, or you've got it protected. You have this wall around your heart to protect yourself because you needed to protect yourself because of the threats that the physical world was causing in your life. And I've seen this in a few people's dreams. Generally, the people who have these type of experiences while in the womb are meant to work heavily in the spiritual field. And we know you're a channel because we see the phone and we see you talking about getting 2 rooms, and 2 is always a thing about channels. They always have 2 because it's about dialogue and two-way communication. You also have, you talk about 2 number 1s and 2 number 4s. So 1 is about, because it's like the doubles, that's also a channel. But the 2 ones is about finding your individual path, and 4 is about limitation. And I think you talk about, you say, I don't know where my mom was, but I was on the 4th floor. So 4 is about limitation. So you picked up limitation because of this. And we know the limitation is protecting your heart. And then you're talking about dialing a number that also has 4s in it. So that's still there today. It affects your communication, your ability to communicate and express with other people. And so you need to fix that issue. And like I said, talk to me, go to the website and talk to me, book a call with me. It doesn't cost And we can talk about this further. Now, you sent in another dream. You said again that you moved. So I have many dreams where I'm at work, but I'm not working. Either I'm on a lunch break or walking around or going outside, never to return. This probably started sometime last year. I'm just wondering what this matters. Now, I know you said your mom died last year, and that's obviously a huge source of grief and issues for you. And so that could be the reason why these things started. But I channeled on this because you asked, and there's not really much in the dream except that you're saying you're at work but not working, right? So here's what you're meant to do. You're meant to work on yourself. Think about what you could have achieved if you spent the last 9 months consistently working on yourself. Where would you be? And I'm not singling you out. This applies to all of us. We live our lives like we have 1,000 years, and people die with regrets. Do you know what the top 5 regrets are? And this list comes from Bonnie Ware, a carer who compiled this list from her terminally ill patients. The first is, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Ringing a bell? Second one, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. That's 2 things from your dreams. The third one, I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. 3 things from your dreams. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. That's number 4. And so I don't know how that applies, but obviously connection is what that's about. And the wall is about blocking connection. And number 5 from her list, I wish that I had let myself be happier. And of course, how do you let yourself be happy? You let yourself feel things by opening your heart. And now, like I said, you obviously can feel, but you've forgotten what it's like to have your heart open fully. That's what you need to do. And do you know what fixes this? Doing my course. I jokingly say that I grab people by the ear and I drag them along and make them do what their dreams tell them they need to do. But the joke is that is what I do. I do drag you by the ear up to the blackboard and I make you point out the issues you need to heal that are written in your dreams. Things that I've just learned from your dreams, but that you knew about for years, but you've either done nothing about them or done the wrong things. Then I hold you to my loving chest and I smack that out of you. Come on, people, what's wrong with you? Do you know why you are here? No, there's no excuse for that. Do you know what is holding you back? No, there's no excuse for that either. Do you know what your gifts are? No. I mean, come on, get with the program. You've done the hard part. You've lived the trauma. Now heal the trauma. Go to my website, dream-analysis.com, read about my upcoming course on November 1st, and then call me and say, hey, Michael, you talk a big talk, but have you got what it takes to help me? Okay, qualification here. Some parts of my description of my course may be inaccurate. Always consult your doctor. I'm Michael Sheridan. That's my show for this week. See you next week. And for the love of God, send me your dreams. Bye.